There's 1 week in college football where records don't matter, where underdogs become giant killers, where coaches lose sleep, families are divided, and entire states hold their breath. This is Rivalry Week. These aren't just games. They're wars that have been fought for over a century. Bragging rights that last 365 days. Memories that last a lifetime. Week 13 is known as Rivalry Week. Today we break down 4 of the most intense rivalry games in this week. The hatred, the history, and the moments that made them legendary. Let's get into it. Number 1, the game. Ohio State versus Michigan. They call it simply the game. And in college football, that's all you need to say. The greatest rivalry in all of sports. Ohio State and Michigan have played 120 times. As of the end of the 2024 season, Michigan leads their all-time series 61 to 51 to 6. But in Big Ten play, Ohio State holds a narrow 51 to 50 to 4 edge. These 2 programs are first and second in total wins in NCAA Division I football history. This isn't just a rivalry, it's a blood feud between 2 of the greatest programs to ever play the sport. The hatred runs deeper than football. In 1835, before either school even existed, Michigan and Ohio nearly went to war over a strip of land near Toledo. Militias formed. Shots were almost fired. Ohio got Toledo, Michigan got the Upper Peninsula. But the animosity, that never went away. The football rivalry started in 1897, and Michigan dominated early. The Wolverines won 19 of the first 24 games. Fielding Yost's famous point-a-minute teams outscored Ohio State 214 to 6 from 1901 to 1905. The Buckeyes didn't beat Michigan until the 16th time they played in 1919. But everything changed in 1969 when Bo Schembechler arrived at Michigan. His first game against his former boss, Woody Hayes, Michigan 24, Ohio State 12, an 18-point underdog beat the number 1 team in the country. The 10-year war had begun. During that decade, Woody and Bo split the series 5 to 4 to 1. 5 times, the game decided the Big Ten championship. 4 times, it decided who played in the Rose Bowl. These weren't just games. They were epic clashes of philosophy, will, and hatred. The stories from that era are legendary. Woody Hayes refused to say the word Michigan, calling them that team up north. He once ran out of gas in Michigan and pushed his car to the Ohio border rather than buy gas in enemy territory. The modern era has seen swings of dominance. Jim Tressel went 9-1 against Michigan. Urban Meyer won his first 7. Jim Harbaugh lost his first 5 games as head coach to Ohio State, but then rattled off 4 straight wins from 2021 to 2024, including games where the Wolverines were double-digit underdogs. In 2024, Michigan entered the game 6-5 and unranked, while Ohio State was 10-1 and ranked 2nd nationally. The Buckeyes were favored by 21 points, the widest spread since 1978. It didn't matter. Michigan won 13-10. Ohio State's Ryan Day has now lost 4 straight to the Wolverines, and players who returned from the NFL draft, specifically to beat Michigan, left the field in tears. That's what this rivalry does. It breaks hearts and makes legends. And for 1 more year, Michigan owns the state. Number 2, the Iron Bowl. Alabama versus Auburn. In the state of Alabama, there is no middle ground. You're either Roll Tide or War Eagle, crimson or orange. There is no compromise, no neutrality, and no mercy. The Iron Bowl gets its name from Birmingham, Alabama's history as an industrial powerhouse, rivaling Pittsburgh in iron and steel production. For decades, the game was played at Legion Field in Birmingham as neutral ground. Auburn coach Shug Jordan is credited with coining the name in 1964 when, after missing a bowl game, he told reporters, "We've got our bowl game." Alabama leads the all-time series 51-37-1. Together, these programs account for 38 SEC championships. Both are among the most successful in college football history, with Alabama 3rd and Auburn 13th in all-time wins. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The rivalry started in 1893, but it got so heated that the schools stopped playing each other for 41 years, from 1907 to 1948. Disputes over player eligibility, funding, and pure hatred made it impossible to continue. When they finally resumed in 1948, Alabama won 55-0, the largest margin of victory in series history. Bear Bryant dominated the series for Alabama, but even he wasn't immune to the rivalry's chaos. Before the 1972 game, Bryant said he'd rather beat that cow college than beat Texas 10 times. Auburn students loved it and proudly owned the term. Then Auburn blocked 2 punts in the fourth quarter, returned both for touchdowns, and won 17-16. The game became known as Punt Bomber Punt, and Auburn fans have never let Alabama forget it. But no moment captures this rivalry better than November 30th, 2013. The kick six. Top-ranked Alabama trails by 1 with 1 second left. A 57-yard field goal. Attempt to win it. The kick falls short. Auburn's Chris Davis catches it in the end zone. 109 yards later, he crosses the goal line as time expires. Auburn wins. Alabama's undefeated season is over. The Iron Bowl had produced one of the greatest plays in football history. Nick Saban's Alabama won 6 national titles and dominated the rivalry in recent years, going 8-2 in the last 10 meetings. In 2024, first-year coach Kalen DeBoer's Tide won 28-14 for their 5th straight Iron Bowl victory, with Jalen Milroe rushing for 3 touchdowns. But even in a rebuilding year for Auburn, you never count out the Iron Bowl, because in this rivalry, anything can happen. Number 3, the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl might not have the national spotlight of Ohio State, Michigan, or the Iron Bowl, but don't let that fool you. What happens in Mississippi stays in Mississippi, and what happens in this rivalry is pure, unfiltered hatred. The teams first played in 1901, and since 1927, they've competed for the Golden Egg Trophy. How did it get that name? After Ole Miss broke a 13-game losing streak in 1926, their fans stormed the field. Mississippi State fans got angry. Chairs were thrown. An all-out brawl broke out. Officials decided they needed something to calm the crowds, so they introduced a trophy, a regulation-sized gold-plated football that became known as the Golden Egg because of its shape. Ole Miss leads the all-time series, 66-46-6. The game has been played every year since 1944, making it the 10th longest uninterrupted series in college football. But this rivalry isn't about sustained dominance. It's about moments of pure chaos. In 1999, Ole Miss led 20-6 late and seemed poised to win. Mississippi State stormed back to tie it. With 20 seconds left, instead of kneeling to go to overtime, Ole Miss threw a deep pass from their own territory. It was deflected by Mississippi State's Robert Bean, kicked up in the air, and intercepted by Eugene Clinton, who returned it deep into Rebel territory. With 8 seconds left, Scott Westerfield kicked a 44-yard field goal to win it. The play is known as the pick and the kick. The 2018 game, dubbed the Egg Brawl, saw 4 players ejected, and every single player received unsportsmanlike conduct penalties after punches were thrown. It featured a celebration so infamous it's become synonymous with the rivalry. An Ole Miss receiver mimicking a dog peeing after scoring a touchdown. That's the Egg Bowl. These 2 schools are separated by just 112 miles on Highway 45. The players went to high school together, the fans worked together, lived next door to each other, and spent all year waiting for this game. As Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart said, "People tell you they don't care if you don't win a game this whole season. The only game they care about you winning is the Egg Bowl." Number 4, the Sunshine Showdown, Florida versus Florida State. Florida and Florida State haven't played each other for over a century like these other rivalries. They didn't meet until 1958, after Governor Leroy Collins pushed for the game. But in the decades since, they've more than made up for lost time. Florida leads the all-time series 38-28-2. But between these two programs, there are 6 Heisman Trophy winners, 79 consensus All-American selections, and 103 first-round NFL draft picks. When Florida and Florida State play, it's elite talent versus elite talent, blue chip program versus blue chip program. The 1990s were the golden age. Steve Spurrier returned to Florida as head coach in 1990, and during his 11 seasons, the Gators and Seminoles met 14 times, with at least one team ranked in the top 10 every single game. In 1996, both were in the top 5. In 1993, both had future Heisman Trophy winners at quarterback, Charlie Ward for Florida State and Danny Werfel for Florida. The 1994 game became known as the Choke at Doak. Florida led 31-3 entering the fourth quarter, but Florida State stormed back to tie it 31-31. The game ended in a tie, but the teams got a rematch in the Sugar Bowl, where FSU won 23-17. Bobby Bowden's Seminoles claimed the national title. These programs weren't just playing for bragging rights. They were playing for championships. For years, this was the biggest game in the state of Florida. National championship implications. Heisman campaigns decided. The state divided between orange and blue versus garnet and gold. But 2024 told a different story. Florida State entered the season with championship expectations after going undefeated in 2023 and winning the ACC. They finished 2-10, their worst season since 1974. Florida, meanwhile, won 31-11 in Tallahassee, recovering 5 fumbles and sacking FSU's freshman quarterback 8 times. It was the first time both teams started true freshman quarterbacks in the rivalry's history. DJ Lagway became the first true freshman Gator quarterback to win in Tallahassee. After the game, Florida's George Gums Jr. grabbed the Gators flag and planted it directly on the Florida State logo at midfield. That's rivalry week. That's what these games mean. It doesn't matter if you're 2-9 or 9-2. When the rivalry game comes, you play for something bigger than your record. You play for pride. You play for your state. You play for bragging rights that last all year long. Rivalry week isn't about playoff implications or Heisman campaigns. It's about something older and deeper. It's about families that are divided, co-workers who can't look each other in the eye the Monday after, cities that shut down on game day. It's about a kid in Columbus who dreams of beating Michigan, a grandmother in Tuscaloosa who's never missed an iron bowl, a father and son in Mississippi who sit on opposite sides of the living room every Thanksgiving. These rivalries have been fought for over a century. They'll be fought for a century more. Because in college football, this is what matters most. Not championships or trophies, but the game against your rival. The one that defines your season. The one you'll remember forever.